Hey everybody, welcome. I'm so glad you're here tonight. My name's Scott Harker and I'm from Columbus, Indiana. I'm a certified gut metabolic health specialist and I help people solve their gut and metabolic issues. Um, and as you're jumping on tonight, tell me where you're from. I love to find out where people are watching from, and I just want to know where people are joining us from. And do me a favor tonight. If you know someone who's been struggling with low energy, stubborn weight, cravings, afternoon crashes, or just not feeling like themselves anymore, I want you to hit that share button. Take a moment to tag them, whatever platform you're on, give them a text, give them a call, have them jump on this live. We're on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube tonight, and Instagram. I want you to be able to go out there, jump them, have them jump on this platform. Let's take a moment to do that. You never know who needs to hear this important message in this conversation tonight. Tonight, I want to talk to you about something very personal and very practical and probably personal to you. I want to explain why these two little packets are so important to me and why they became part of my daily routine and why they became something so important with my clients. Not because there's some magic tool, okay? Not because they're a miracle, but because I finally realized I had stopped fighting my body and started to needed to support it. And for years, so many people have been told, just eat less. That sound like you? Just try harder. You have to have more discipline, more willpower, just more exercise. But what if your body isn't asking for that punishment? That is punishment, isn't it? What if your body is asking for support? What if all those things are signals? Tonight, I'm going to explain why so many people struggle with low energy, sugar, cravings, belly fat, brain fog, and afternoon crashes. And why so many people have so many symptoms like type 2 diabetes, why we have gut issues, why we have skin issues, why you may be having migraines, ED, PCOS, right? I'm going to explain why these two little tools, along with the protocol, have become one of the tools that I use to support my healthy blood sugar or getting my with my blood sugar energy, why I use this in my practice, and how we help people with blood sugar energy, appetite control, and metabolic health, and why those tools will do it. So if you've ever said, I don't feel like myself anymore, I want you to put me in the chat. Put me in the chat. I'd like to see how many of you are dealing with those issues. Maybe you've looked in the mirror tonight and thought, I don't feel like the person I was 10 years ago. That's probably very common. Maybe you wake up tired even after a full night's sleep. Maybe around 2 or 3 in the afternoon, your energy completely disappears. Is that you? Having those crashes? Maybe after dinner, you're standing in the pantry looking for something sweet or a lot of carbs, even though you told yourself you weren't going to eat anything else. I've been there. Maybe you're eating about the same, and maybe you're actually eating better, but those scales keep moving in the wrong direction. Have you ever been there? Put me in the chat if that's you. If any of that sounds familiar, let me know in the chat. Here's what I've learned. Most people think they're the only one. They think something must be wrong with me. I must not have enough discipline. Maybe I just need another diet. Maybe I need to exercise harder. Can I encourage you with this? What if your body isn't working against you? What if your body is actually trying to get your attention? Maybe all these things are just letting you know what's going on. They're a signal. You see, our bodies are incredibly intelligent. When something is out of balance, the body starts sending signals. The problem is, most of us have never been taught how to recognize those signals. Instead, we've been taught to ignore them. Drink another cup of coffee, grab an energy drink, push through, get more willpower. Sound familiar? I've been told those. Now, let me ask you another question. How many of you have ever crashed after lunch? I'm talking about that moment where you feel like somebody unplugged your batteries, where you just can't move. If that has happened to you, I want you to type crash in the comments. Now, another one. How many of you find yourself saying, if I could just stop craving sugar or carbs, those breads, those chips, or something salty, life would be so much easier. Type cravings in the chat if you've ever said that. I have. I'd be typing cravings like crazy. Now, here's the interesting part. Those two things, the afternoon crashes and the cravings, they're connected. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about tonight. Now, before I go any further, I want to show you these two tools. I see people asking me about them almost every time I go live. These are part of a protocol I use every day, and they become part of my daily routine because they help me support the very things most people are struggling with: energy cravings, blood sugar, and appetite control, weight gain. And I'm going to explain exactly what these are and how I use them. But if I explain these right now, they won't make nearly as much sense. So just hang in there with me, okay? Stay there with me for a few minutes and I'm going to get to that. And I'll share what these two tools do and how I use them and why I use them in my practice. Some of you know a little bit of my story. Years ago, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, and that diagnosis changed the direction of my life. It forced me to ask a question that I'd never really asked before. Not just what medication do I need, but why is this happening in the first place? I want to get to the root cause. That question led me down a path of studying gut health and metabolism, inflammation, blood sugar, and how incredibly connected the body really is. And somewhere along that journey, I discovered something that completely changed how I looked at weight loss, energy, and cravings. It wasn't another diet. It wasn't another exercise program. It was understanding one simple concept that almost nobody had ever explained to me. And once I understood it, everything else started making sense. So let me ask you one last question before we move on. What if the afternoon crashes, the cravings, the stubborn belly fat, the brain fog, and the low energy weren't separate problems at all? What if they were all connected? Well, I'm going to show you tonight they are, because if they are, then solving one symptom at a time will never solve the real problem. In the next few minutes, I'm going to explain one of the biggest reasons why those symptoms often travel together. And I promise you, I'm going to explain it in a way that's so simple, you'll wonder why no one ever explained it this way before. Well, it's maybe because they don't want you to do it, right? Because they can use that medication and keep using it and using it. It's called insulin resistance. Now, don't leave me because that sounds medical. I'm going to make this very simple. Let's connect the dots for a moment. I know some of you are thinking, Scott, I've heard the term insulin resistance before, but honestly, I have no idea what it really means. And some of you may. But I want you to listen to this because I think it's really important you understand because it's so critical. Let's make this incredibly simple. Imagine your body is a house. Every single one of your body's cells, your muscles, your brain, and your organs, they're all in rooms inside that house. Now, every time you eat carbohydrates or proteins, whether it be meat, fruit, rice, potatoes, bread, or even healthy carbohydrates or healthy proteins, your body breaks that food down into glucose. Now, think of glucose as fuel. Your cells need that fuel to make energy, but here's the problem: that fuel can't get inside the room by itself. It needs a key, and that key is called insulin. It's absolutely necessary. You see, insulin opens the door so the fuel can get inside your cells where it can be used for energy. So far, pretty simple, right? If that makes sense, I want you to type key in the comments because I need to see who's with me. Now, here's where things begin to change. Imagine that front door. Every single day, someone keeps banging on the door over and over and over and over and over and over again. Eventually, that lock doesn't respond the way it used to. Now, the key still works, but it takes more effort, more insulin, more knocking before the door finally opens. That's a simple way to picture insulin resistance. And that comes because we continue to eat all the time instead of giving our body a chance to rest. Your, your body starts making more insulin just to do the same job. And here's why that matters. When that happens, people often begin noticing things like afternoon energy crashes, constant hunger, more crashes or more cravings, stubborn weight around that middle. Does that resonate? And feeling like they need something sweet just to keep them going. Or maybe they need that carbohydrate. For me, it was carbs, chips. Sound familiar? If you have experienced that, at least two of those things, I want you to type two below because this is important. Now, here's something really important. This isn't about blaming carbohydrates. Healthy carbohydrates, healthy carbohydrates can be absolutely a part of a balanced lifestyle. The bigger question is how your body is responding to them. That's what we're here to talk about tonight. This is why this packet right here matters. When I understood why so many of those crashes and cravings are connected to blood sugar ups and downs, I started looking for, I stopped looking for another diet and started looking for better daily strategy. This fiber is one of the tools that I use to support healthy blood sugar, support my gut, and smooth out those spikes and crashes that can leave people tired, hungry, and reaching for snacks and start to heal from the inside out. It's not magic, it's a tool. And when the tool is used with better habits, it can make the journey feel more doable. Here's something else most people never hear. Insulin resistance doesn't usually happen overnight. It didn't literally happen with one cookie or a piece of cake, one meal, one habit, one stressful season, one poor night's sleep after another, one year after another, until one day people wake up and say, "What happened to me?" It took time. It took maybe 10, 15, 20 years. But here's the part that completely changed how I look at health. Insulin resistance is incredibly important to understand, but I don't believe it's the end of the story because eventually I had to ask myself another question. Why does the body become resistant in the first place? Why do some people seem to struggle so much more than others? That's when my research took me somewhere else I wasn't expecting because it took me to the gut. It took me to inflammation, back to the trillions of microbiomes living inside us that influence metabolism, inflammation, and even how we regulate blood sugar. And when I understood that connection, everything started to make sense because I truly believe this. If you don't understand your gut, you're going to never fully understand your metabolism. You can't lose weight until your gut starts to heal. So now let's answer the next question. If insulin resistance is happening, why? Why does one person seem to struggle with energy, cravings, inflammation, and weight while someone else doesn't? The answer isn't always simple. There isn't one single cause, but there is one area of the body that I believe far too many people overlook. And I kind of alluded to it earlier. It's the gut. Now, when I say the gut or gut health, most people immediately think, oh, you mean digestion, constipation, bloating, heartburn. And yes, that's part of it and a big part of it. But your gut is also so much more than your digestive system. Did you know that your gut is home to trillions of microorganisms? And there's this gut and brain connection. And these tiny microorganisms help break down food, produce beneficial compounds, communicate with your immune system. That's where 70% of your immune system is, and influence inflammation and metabolic function. Think about that for a second. If the soil inside your body isn't healthy, why would we expect the fruit to be healthy? That's why I often tell people you can't build great health on an unhealthy soil, aka gut. Now, let me ask you something. How many of you have taken antibiotics sometimes in your life? We all have, right? Most of us have. Type yes if you had. Well, how many of you have gone through a really stressful season? Type stress in the chat if that's you. What about eating on the run? Fast food, processed food, not enough sleep? Am I resonating? Anybody? The reality is, it's all of those things can influence the gut environment over time. Diet, stress, sleep, medications, and lifestyle all play a role in shaping the microbiome, and that can influence blood sugar regulation, inflammation, energy, and cravings. In fact, I said maybe it does. I want you to remember these. I want you to remember these two tools that I showed earlier. This is where the protocol fits in for me. This one right here, supports healthy blood sugar, the gut, our immune system. This one here supports clean energy, focus, and appetite control. Gets rid of that brain, that noise of I need to eat all the time. Together, these to get along with how we eat, time-based eating, these, for a lot of people, that's what's been missing. Not more shame, not another extreme plan, a rhythm, a simple way to start. No more calorie counting. They start to support the body every day. This is the first step in healing that gut and strategy for me and getting our immune system healthy. Supporting healthy blood sugar helps me avoid those dramatic highs and lows that can leave me feeling hungry, tired, and reaching for snacks. And this has become part of my morning routine and afternoon routine because I love the steady energy and focus it provides instead of chasing another cup of coffee and feeling that afternoon slump. It helps me start my day with a different rhythm. And along with time-based eating, these aren't magic. They're tools. Just like eating real food is a tool, walking every day is a tool, getting enough sleep is a tool, managing stress is a tool. Healthy isn't built by one thing. It's built by consistently doing the right things over time. And that's exactly what this protocol has helped me begin to do, and along with my clients. The beautiful part is this: you don't have to be perfect. You just have to start. So that brings us to the question I get more than any other. Scott, where do I begin? That's exactly what I want to leave with you as I wrap up tonight. So let's begin this way. Tonight, I don't want you to leave here thinking, well, I learned something interesting about insulin resistance. That's not enough. I want you to leave here asking a better question. What if my body has been asking for support? It has if you've got all those symptoms, because maybe that fatigue isn't random. Maybe that cravings or those cravings aren't random. Maybe the afternoon crashes aren't random. Maybe the stubborn weight isn't just about age. Maybe your body has been waving a flag saying something needs to change. And friends, that doesn't mean you're broken. It means you need a better starting point. You need a reset. That's why I talk so much about this protocol. These two tools right here that I've been sharing are not the whole journey, but for many, they are a powerful first step. This helps support healthy blood sugar and gets the gut in shape. This one right here helps support energy, focus, gets rid of the food noise, appetite control, helps us burn fat, activates our GLP-1 naturally. And when people start feeling more stable and when they are not crashing every afternoon, when they're not fighting cravings all day, when they are finally feeling they can make better choices, that's when hope starts to come back. And that matters because this is bigger than weight. This is about having the energy to show up for your family, for your children, for your friends, not being sick later in life, having the clarity to do the work God has called you to do, having the strength to stop sitting on the sidelines of your own life. I don't want you just surviving your days. I want you to feel clear, steady, and strong enough to live with purpose. Let me make this personal for a second. This is not just about weight. This is about your life. Do you hear me? This is about your life. Because when you're tired all the time, it affects everything. It affects how patient you are. It affects how present you are with your family, your children, your friends. It affects how clearly you think. It affects whether you feel motivated to take a walk, cook a better meal, pray, serve, work, or show up for the people who need you. And I think that's part that people don't talk enough about. Low energy doesn't just steal your afternoon, it steals moments. It steals confidence. It steals consistency. And sometimes, if we're honest, it starts stealing hope. That's why I care so much about this, because I don't believe God designed you to barely get through the day. I don't believe you were created to live in survival mode. How many of you are living in survival mode today? I believe your body may be asking for support. And when you begin supporting it instead of fighting it, things can begin to change. I'm living proof. My clients are living proof. Not overnight, not perfectly, but step by step. And it actually is easy. For me, this protocol became one of those simple daily steps. In fact, for my whole family and many of my clients, not the whole journey, but a starting point, a way to begin supporting healthy blood sugar, a way to support energy and focus, a way to help get out of that constant cycle of crashing, craving, and guessing. And if you're still sitting on here tonight, you know what I'm talking about. And maybe that's why some of you need to know. Not another lecture, not another diet, not another reason to feel guilty. Maybe you just need a clear next step. So here's my invitation. If anything tonight sounded like you, if you've been dealing with the crashes, the cravings, the brain fog, the stubborn weight, or you just feel like your body isn't responding the way it used to, I want you to comment reset in the comments. You can reach into my profile and figure out how to DM me. You can send me a private message, and you can also see the number across the screen where I can text you. I'll send you my free guide and explain how this protocol works. No pressure, no hype, just a real conversation to see if this is a good fit for you. And if you're watching the replay, you can still comment reset or message me or text me, because you don't have to keep guessing. You don't have to keep blaming yourself, and you don't have to keep doing this alone. Your body is not your enemy. It may just be asking for support, and tonight can be the first step. God bless you. Thank you for being here tonight and listening. I care, and I want people to live to the fullest extent of their life they can. Comment or message me, reset. You don't have anything to lose, no pressure. I'll help you take that next step. Feel great and live called. Thank you.